Welcome to the Dr. Sarah Experience podcast show, where we talk with some of the most amazing beings who are currently creating and shaping today's culture. And I'm your host, Dr. Sarah. Our guest today, Gabrielle Mooney, or Gabby Mooney for short, is a country artist, songwriter, and small business owner in Nashville, Tennessee. Originally from a small town in Arkansas where she first discovered her love for Southern rock music, it wasn't until she and her younger brother Shay from the Grammy Award-winning Dan and Shay moved to Nashville that she decided to pursue her career in writing and performing music in Music City. In 2018, Gabby worked alongside Grammy Award-winning producer Shane McAnally and Walker Hayes to co-write Walker's 2018 single, 90s Country. And in 2020, she released her own self-penned single, Come On In, where she brings to life the memories of her hometown and those closest to her in this deeply personal track. So without further ado, I would like to welcome Gabrielle Mooney to the show. Gabby.
Hi.
Yay! Welcome to the show. I'm so grateful that you're coming now to us in this moment on this podcast. And wow, thank you for being here.
I'm excited and honored to be with you, girl. I'm stoked.
Wow. And the way I like to start the podcast is just being open to the possibilities. We never know what direction it can go. And knowing 100%. You and I, who knows what we'll create?
Two crazy blondes. What's going on?
Yet to discover and bring to the world.
Here we are, world.
Here we are. And, this show in particular, with regards to the podcast and the focus of it, is really about bringing information in to people who follow you and beyond, just some really cool things that we don't know about you. And we can really start anywhere that you would like it, with what's going on or what's happening in your world. I'm open to going with the flow.
I love it. Well, right now I'm about to release a new single and we are so excited to release it. And it's more Southern rock. And I love Southern rock. It's kind of my biggest passion because I love country music, but I love rock music and I live in that lane in between. And when we released this one, I wanted to do a song and the whole album, everything that I do. I really want to encourage people. I don't love doing a ton of sad songs. And I find that it's really not because I don't like singing sad songs, because they're beautiful and they're fun to sing. But when I perform live, my biggest thing is making people feel like they're escaping something, and I want people's mind to be off of, breakups. I want it to be on, hey, we're strong girls. We love our dudes. Like, not everybody's bad. Let's go and just have fun, I want that to be the goal of touring and music and everything, is positive vibes.
Yeah. And it sounds like that's where you're showing up and being the energy, because you are such a bright light. Let me just say, you really are.
You are too, guys.
Oh, I appreciate that. You're so sweet. and I can relate to you in that there's a sense of wanting to bring lightness to the world because we're being it, and allowing other people to have access to it is so important, because we all pretty much know how to be in a sad space and a heavy space. There's a place for that, but you're bringing in something like fresh, new, and innovative, really, with the style of, it's called Southern rock.
Southern rock, yeah.
Can you maybe speak a little bit more about that, just in case, for my sake, but also the listeners too?
Oh, for sure. I always tell people to get an example of the type of music that inspires me. I always tell them to go check out the Cadillac 3.
Oh, okay.
And they're a 3-piece band that are absolutely incredible. And Jaron Johnson is one of my role models. He's the lead singer in songwriting. And I am such a writer. That's how I started, getting into music, is putting my feelings down on paper. And I was super closed off when I was little. and I didn't really know how to express how I was feeling in words, but I found that writing it down on paper made it to where it wasn't so real. You know what I'm saying? Like it was almost a projection of someone else's thoughts. And I could almost hide in the lyrics and protect myself with this shell of, is it real? Is it fake? Of course it was all real, you know, like, but I was seeing them all and she's like, oh, like, did that guy hurt you? I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, this is just a song, you know, but it was a way for me to get it out. And so Jaron, the way that he writes and just the passion and the incredible visualization of his lyrics really drew me to them. And watching them live, I was just like, oh my gosh, this is a party. And so it felt a lot like the music I was doing. And so I kind of used them as a way to be like, look, you're not that weird, you know, to be like, look, there's other people doing it, may not be a chick, but you know, it's okay to be different. It's okay to be, you know, who you are. And that's been years and years ago. And that is important for other artists to empower people by being themselves. Wow. It's easy to be someone else, but being yourself empowers other people to be themselves. And when you say, I'm not going to just be this typical person because everybody else is telling me I need to be like this, you know, I'm going to be who I am. So Southern rock, people go check out Cadillac 3, especially Days of Gold. It's one of my favorite songs, and I'm Southern. You'll probably see those in my reels all the time. I constantly use that audio, but
well, it's a depiction too of what you're saying that brings you together as you and lights you up and is what you're being. And have you noticed that through the years of just being in the field of creating music and writing music, and has that evolved for you? Maybe share with us a little bit about that.
Oh, definitely. So songwriting and being an artist, a lot of times are separate entities. When I write songs for myself, they're very personal. They're from personal experiences. I want to show people my heart. I want to show people what I'm thinking. I want to show people like how I'm feeling at that moment. And so when I perform it, it comes across as real because it is real. But when I'm writing for other people, I mean, I've written hip hop, pop, sync music. I wrote 90s country with Walker Hayes and Shane McAnally. That's more of a hip hop country thing, which he's killing it right now with Fancy Like. I'm so proud of him. But those are some of the things that are a little bit different, because when you say you're a country artist, but you're writing pop stuff sometimes, it really doesn't change who you are as an artist. It's just a different form of expression for someone else. So not everybody writes their own songs, which is great for me. So, you know, it's like that expression in a different way of getting to be more fun or get outside your head and think about somebody else's problems to write about. You know? So that's super fun for me.
It sounds like you, in a way, go into their world and put words to what they're looking either to create or show up with, or kind of speak the language through their voice, or part of it.
Oh yeah. I love getting with other artists and being like, hey, let's talk about your relationship. Let's talk about, you get so close with these people. Like, they'll be like, yeah, he cheated on me and his name is Phil and this is this. And like, and you're like, I'm getting the juice. Keep going. And then you write about it. It's very intimate. Songwriting is.
Wow. That's phenomenal. So you sit down with the person, you go into their world, you capture what they've been through, and help really bring it all together into words that they can sing or whatever it is. Amazing.
And it makes it so fun.
Wow. Now, do you, so let's talk about like that creative process that you go through when writing, let's say even for someone else. Does it all come in at once, or does it come in parts, or how do you usually, or do you just roll with it? How does it show up?
Well, it always comes in a different way. I want to say with pop tracks, usually, or pop songs, usually starts with like a track. And you'll have somebody like my boy Spencer over at Edge Hill, like he'll have a cool beat, or Ronan, they'll have like a really sick beat that you're like, oh, that's pretty sick. I can kind of vibe off that. And then you start thinking of melodies and you're just kind of like, yeah, yeah. And you just kind of move with it. And then I go from there, from melodies to usually lyrics. But if you already have a line or a lyric that's cool, like say Dan and Shay song, they, had Speechless, that song. And, they thought of, say, she makes me speechless. And then they kind of form that song around that thought. And the melodies around that thought, or you form the words around these cool melodies that you think up over the track. So with country, a lot of times it starts with guitar and, a progression that you're going with, G, C, E, G, C, D, whatever you want to go with. Usually those chords always. But country songs have a very specific usual chord pattern, but always different, but usually the same chords. Yeah. But it's the most fun for me. The most fun part of it for me is the visualization of lyrics, of breathing life into a thought that you were inspired by, but it needs to take form. Wow. So that's just fun for me. I think that visual lyrics are the most intense lyrics because the listener can put themselves in that spot and feel what you're feeling. If you put a visual board out there for them with your words. Wow. So that's my favorite thing to do.
And it sounds like that's actually how you write. Like those are your favorites. Is that usually how it comes through? Is that you visually see it?
Oh, definitely. I usually even think about, when you're in your car and you're listening to a song and then you're just like looking out the window, and before you know it, you're driving down and you're like feeling what the person's feeling. And you're like, I set fire to the rain or something like that. And you're like, yes. You're not brokenhearted, you're nothing, but for that quick moment, you're in the moment. Yeah. So I always think about, I'm almost visualizing music videos while I'm in it. It's like a whole thing. Is it rain down on the tin roof? Is it the forest that you're running through that you can't escape everything? It's always kind of visual for me.
Wow. Well,
it's
that's
weird. My brain works very funky.
Well, you know what it sounds like? Not only are you a songwriter, but you're almost like a maestro to all the energy in the sound, the visual, the kind of, it's like it reminds me a little bit of Fantasia, where Mickey Mouse is like everywhere doing.
Oh yeah.
This, how it's all coming in for you, and then you bring it down into the song and the lyrics, and then all of a sudden it's coming into this creation that's just like, because as you're talking about it, I'm receiving it that way too. So wow, thank you for that. Thank you for sharing that. Oh yeah, absolutely. But that's probably what keeps things so like in a way that I like to acknowledge is that conscious space. Like you're bringing into a moment people's feelings, thoughts, emotions, and a rhythm and an energy. And you're looking to bring almost like this awareness in. If you're writing for someone else, it's a gift to them and then to their audience and so on. Like this is such a and I'm just in the energy of it, like a trickling effect, like a domino effect of
right.
Yeah.
It's crazy because the songwriters here in Nashville are so revered. There's some people here that oh my gosh, I listen to their songs and I'm just like, whoa, you are a visionary. And they won't be singing them. It'll be somebody completely different. You can feel their heart through the person singing it because they're feeling it just like the person that wrote felt, because they chose it. They'll choose songs that apply to their lives. Yeah. And one of my favorites, his name's Benji Davis, and he's one of my good buddies. And this guy has no desire of being an artist, but his soul and his heart are always out in the lyrics, and you can just hear it come out of it. And the respect I have for songwriters that are much better than me is so high. Like wow. I more look up to songwriters than artists.
Well,
So,
I wonder if it's not a better than, but there's an acknowledgement of how they're creating it and really how
yes.
to create it. And they're both, no matter what form, beautiful gifts. And so I just acknowledge you about that.
There's some people that have the most phenomenal voices that would be able to sing that song and get it across to people that songwriters can't. And so it's a collaborative effort of these incredible voices that have the platform, that has the following, to get that song to the audience, to reach people. Yeah. And so we rely on those artists that, want to come together with us and present these songs. And it's so crazy how many pieces it requires.
Well, and then it's like a win-win for everyone. And then they're singing the song that resonates with them, that you wrote specifically through their, I guess, window of their thoughts, feelings, emotions, or being, really their conscious space. That's how I see it. That it brings into the world in a way like a boom.
Yes. Amazing. It's crazy, right? It's like how everything comes together. And this one person could be listening to it on the radio or on their iPod, or I say iPod, but I mean their iPhone. iPods are a little bit gone. But then it touches them and they relate to it on a whole different level that maybe you didn't even write it about, but touches them in a specific way that applies to them. And I think that's what's so beautiful about songs.
So beautiful.
There's no definition of a one-way song, because people can take it so many different ways.
So many ways. And I know, just being a music lover, and just I so appreciate what you're creating, and just the love for the a lot of times just all the aspects of what goes into a song or a genre of music, and the singing, the instrumental. Sometimes it's just the vibe of the song.
Right.
I resonate like that in all different ways, but I'm sure a lot of people do too. And each person has their own experience of what that is like you're saying.
Right.
So, wow.
And for some people, it's dance music.
Yeah,
there's like 3 words in there, but it's an emotional song. A producer is putting out some emotions within the beats and within the melodies and within everything else. And so you're in the club and you don't know why, but you're just feeling great and emotional and happy at the same time. But it's because those people can relate what they're feeling. Now, I can't produce worth poop. I can definitely tell what I want in there, but I can't be an engineer. I am not good at engineering. I can produce, I can't engineer. Huge difference.
Yes.
And these people that are so talented with being able to produce and, be a DJ, it's a lot harder than it looks. People are like, oh yeah, everybody's a DJ. No, not everybody can do it, because to be a DJ, to be in that realm, you have to make people feel things with simply what you're given. And if you can make people feel something, you're an artist too.
Yeah. It's, again, another area where it brings 2 different things and brings it together in all these different ways. And that's how all these things keep going, really, in so many ways that music is applicable to. I mean, my gosh, if we don't get me started on social media, and then you TikTok to it, it could be 9 seconds of a song that you hear a lyric, and then it gives someone an experience. So it's phenomenal now, the possibilities. And I love what you're creating and bringing in. And maybe we can segue real quick then to writing your own music. That's something you do, right? And then sing it and create it. Like, maybe speak to that a little bit.
Yeah. So I guess I'll tell you about the inspiration for a couple of them. Yeah. I wrote Come On In. So Come On In was the first song I released because it was so important to me. This tattoo right here is when my grandpa passed. They used to have a rose bush in front of their house. And then when my grandma passed, I got this. This is her last name. It's Reed. Excuse my poor spray tan job. Like, my hands are like, these are white, this is not. That's bless my heart.
to get color, it's the way to do it these days. I say spray tan.
Right.
Yes.
I ain't trying to get wrinkles or the sun damage or skin cancer. So
Yes.
trying to stay out of the sun. But my grandpa had passed, and I went to Arkansas shortly after he passed, and I was just looking through some old pictures, and I don't think it really hits you that they're really gone until you start looking at them like a memory.
Wow.
And that's the thing that just struck me. And it was just this thing of, I'm never going to see grandpa again. And the emotions of all of that were so strong. And and it wasn't even a sadness. It was more of a, whoa, he was an incredible person. And this is my life now without him. I need to appreciate and take in these moments that I have probably been taking for granted with my family, with my parents, with my grandparents. And so I was driving back from Arkansas, and I had a right as soon as I was driving in to the right. And this was just swirling in my head and just this whole thing. So me and my brother and sister, we all used to sing this song called Come On In from the Martins. It was a Christian Southern gospel song. And growing up in church, we would just sing this, all the time because it sounded great as a trio, and the Martins were a trio.
Yeah.
Cheesy as all get out. I'm pretty sure we even have hand motions to it. It's like, come on. I don't know. Who knows? It's really embarrassing. I try not to look back at home videos.
It made it that more enjoyable and in the flow of the.
Right. I'm like, we thought we were in sync. We were not.
Love it.
I tell all my friends, they're like, oh, it's like a home video. I'm like, they're lost. I don't know where they're at. So weird. I don't know what happened.
They're missing somewhere.
Right. So when I was thinking about that, I was like, come on in, man, that is so us, right? It's like, we are so closed off all the time that people, to our families, even to everyone else, when we're going through something, or we're just so busy, or we're happy, or we're content with our lives. And so I thought, come on in. Okay. Yeah. And so when I was writing these lyrics, they just flowed out so quickly. I mean, the songs that are like this, that just come out, are things that are deep rooted. Yeah. And that you're really passionate about, and it just comes out onto paper. And it was literally like my grandpa was in the room with me. Wow. And I left and just bawled crying. And I was just crying when I was listening to it. I was like, oh my goodness, like this was just given to me. And there's a line in it that is still my favorite line. And it's, my daddy saying grace in my grandpa's place. He always put Jesus first. And it hit me so hard when I was writing that, because, when we have family dinners, my grandpa, the head of the household, the head of the family or whatever, he'd always get up there and he'd say a prayer for our beans and cornbread or whatever. And that first Sunday of my dad, saying the prayer, that's a big moment of being like, he's now not here to do that. And it just hit so hard. And I just started bawling. That was the first of the song. And I just started crying. I'm just like, oh, thanks, Grandpa. And just, It was this thing of, this song was special. Yes. Because it came from my heart, and I felt like it was inspired by my grandpa, and I just felt like it was given to me.
100%. Like you received it, and you were to almost be like this conduit or a messenger of it. And when you said it, like the tears of almost joy and sadness and a slew of probably emotions were there, all simultaneous in that moment.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I didn't feel alone. And I felt like, this was a wake-up call for me of being like, be present.
Yeah.
Be there. Don't take these moments for granted. Don't think that just because you aren't, in Arkansas right now, that you can't be present for your family, because your family wants to be present for you. And I know not everybody's relationship is like that with their family, but I mean, if they have their friends or their people that they're close in, their team, their business coworkers.
Yeah.
It's that thing of where we love to close ourselves off so much when we find what works for us to keep our peace. But sometimes we have to remember, after we find our peace, after we figure out who we are.
What I sense you're saying too is that these things are available and we can maintain who we are and show up to people and still be present in a way that doesn't have to be overwhelming or a distraction in our life. We can almost be an invitation to come on in, to join in, part of, rather than excluding ourselves, excluding others. And like, it's giving me chills right now, just even talking about it. I'm like, wow.
Right? It's wild. And it was the first time that I was like, I know a lot of people, when they see my appearance, they think I'm so hard. Because I have finger tattoos. So when you have 2 piercings in your face and you have finger tattoos, people are like, oh, she's been through some stuff, you know. But I just like them. Of course, I have been through some stuff, but it's the kind of stuff that grew my character and made me realize that life is not about me. It's not about my wants and my desires. It's about making a mark on the world. And it's about showing people who you are in a way that will make their lives enriched as well. And I don't ever want to leave a room and people feel the energy sucked dry. I want to leave that room feeling full and happy, and people to know who I am and not assume. Yeah. You know?
Well, and that's what you are being. That's what you are creating. So I'm a testament to that. I will acknowledge you for that. And I sense there are people in the world that are more of that flavor of making it about themselves in a way that's not a receivable space for others. And those of us who are consciously choosing that, we're usually the ones that have always been that. But now you're bringing it in a way to communicate it to others so they can choose it, or you're aware of maybe spaces and time where that wasn't available to you the way it is now, and like really taking what you're being and creating this gift to the world. So I love it. It's amazing.
Well, I tell you, it's been a journey. That's for sure. I think there's every single artist that I know, they've gone through the self-doubt. They've gone through the rejection. They've gone through the judgment. And, you know, social media is so mean. They are so mean. The amount of people that feel emboldened to be rude and unkind is insane. And I don't know why people feel like they need to be negative to people they don't know.
Yeah.
But it's going to happen. That stuff's going to happen. You're going to go through it. You can't make the world perfect. You can't change other people's attitudes, but you can change yours towards it. And you can find a way to love those people through it.
Exactly.
And so even when people are rude or mean online, you'll just notice me to just like a smiley face, or like, you know, hey, I hope you have a better day. This doesn't look like you're really happy with yourself, because I know this isn't about me. This is about you.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to respond with negativity, because I don't feed that beast.
And that's exactly what it does when we agree and align with a judgment or defend against it. So I love this. This is what I'm always aiming to be and encouraging others to be too, is when you can acknowledge judgment and call a spade, but also show up to it with, wow, thank you for that. Interesting point of view. And like, next, it's like killing it with kindness, because that person is looking to get a reaction. They feed off, like you said, they feed off that. And when you're not feeding the beast of insanity, I like to call it consciousness judgment, then it's like, not only does it stop it, but it also then allows other people to not have to go through it too.
Yeah.
So when you're not in the judgment, it doesn't go anywhere.
Exactly. Well, girl, I have to tell you, well, for your viewers, so my brother is Shay from Dan and Shay. And I had a way worse time when Shay got famous. And because being the sissy, I'm very defensive of my bubbas. And so, he was the one, it's been about 7 years ago now where he started getting, the traction from all these different fans, and, started with Warner and came out with 19 You and Me. And the amount of people that were mean to my brother, that is the sweetest human being of all time, would give the shirt off of his back to someone in need. I'm telling you, he is so incredible. His heart is so amazing, and I'm so proud of him. And the amount of people that were rude and mean to my brother, who is just gold, that triggered me. And so, I'm way better, but I remember Shay telling me this. He said, Gabs, you can't defend me. He was like, you can't go on there and defend me. He was like, I know you want to. He said, but they are acting small. They are acting small because they feel small. And so that's the only way they know how to act. And he said, I am not going to respond to that. You're not going to respond to that, because he said, it is not the kind of attention I want to bring to the brand. He said, I want to bring love. I want to bring all these things that are just focused on excitement and positivity. And so he's the one, years and years ago, that was like, look, I know this sucks right now. And I know you're seeing this and it's hard for you to handle. And my older sister, Erica, we both were just in arms. We're like, Twitter war. Because when it comes to me, or when it comes to Erica, like, we're like, oh, it's so like, oh, whatever, blah, blah, blah. But like, when it comes to our Bubba, that's a
whole other thing.
It's a whole other thing. And, having Shay be so kind and so, insightful, even though he is, I know, under so much pressure all the time, even back then, especially starting, and, having all the pressure to do well. And you have all these people saying, oh, this isn't country, or this is this, or whatever. And it's pointless. And I don't want to feed that energy. And he was very insightful to say that.
Well, it's a testament to not only his character, but his way of being, which you resonate with. And he walks the walk, talks the talk, just like you do. And he knew even then, being the kind of being he is, what was going on, and was wise and beyond his years enough to know, like, this is how we do it. We write it out, you see it clearly, and you don't engage. It's like, really.
Oh, it's so much easier for me not to engage with my stuff than his stuff sometimes. But now I'm so much better. It's the thing of realizing that we live in a broken world.
Yeah.
And when there's somebody that's doing well in the world, or somebody wants to be like, or they think, oh, I should be where they are, or something like that. I don't really know what goes on in these people's heads, to be honest. But I do know it comes from a place of hurt. Yeah. Nobody can be negative like that without feeling some sort of pain or hurt, or some sort of deep-rooted grudge against certain things. And that's not my journey. It's not mine to take on.
No. If anything, that's what we stay clear of, but you can still identify and see how they're functioning, because it's a functional way of being, that they come from a less than and greater than point of view, a very black and white according to this reality. And I sense how you resonate and how Shay resonates, and probably your sister too, is in a way that is not linear. It's not of this reality. Our point of view creates our reality. And that's where more you're coming from, and where a lot of people are fine with the insanity of this reality. They like trauma. They like being in limitation on some level, because they just function that way. So I'm just aware of how, like, there's two types of people that function in the world. That's one of them. But then there's the way that I resonate, like you, is like higher frequency, where it's about energy, not about words, or the lower frequency that we choose to live in here.
And the more you're in that positive energy, the more you recognize the negative,
For sure.
Sometimes you walk into a room and you immediately avoid certain people because you're like, ooh, nope, not my energy, not today. You know,
that's right. Bye-bye.
like you said.
Yep. That return to center with consciousness stuff.
Yes, return to center with consciousness, and or return to the bar, go wherever you want to go. Like,
I sometimes say like shoo little judgmental flies. I kind of like
yes,
that.
I don't need you. Shoo fly, don't bother me. Bye.
And this laughter that we be with it is what diffuses, like, well, I'll just say it, like evil energy, darker energies in this reality that want to show up. You have to be like the humor, the lightness, joy drives this type of energy, and saying, so these are the people that resonate with that lower dark energy a lot of times.
Oh, yeah.
That drives them the most crazy is that you're not engaging with them. You know, it's
yeah. And I personally do believe in a higher power. So I believe in this whole, like, there's darkness, there's light, there are energies that we don't understand, and learning to protect yourself, you know, is so important, because, you know, when you leave somewhere and you're feeling drained, that affects your life and how you function during the day and how you are able to communicate with other people. Because when you're drained and you're around people, you know what? You might be draining them too. So it's like keeping yourself full is the most important thing of going out into the world. And so I always remind myself, hey, stay on this positivity, wake up and make a decision that today I'm going to protect my energies. I'm going to protect myself, but also I'm going to take the energy that I've stored up and spread, you know?
And believe it or not, I love that. First of all, thank you for describing it that way. That's spot on. And what's really curious about living consciously, which includes being in the moment, but also includes the future. So every choice creates.
Yes.
So when you're willing to be that light energy and show up, it actually gets easier, not more difficult. So everyone that's listening, it's not harder. It's hard to be in this reality if you buy this reality as true and think a lot and feel a lot and get into the, you know, let's say the sadness of everything that's going on around us. That weirdly enough is the lie that we've all bought. But when we're willing to look at what's true for you is light for you, and you show up and be, it gets a lot easier, but you have to choose it.
Yeah. Oh, you have to.
You have to choose it every day, every moment, really, because there's things that want to bring us down.
Yeah, because I think so many people are chasing after happiness and they're chasing after a feeling when it's not a feeling. No. It is a definite way of life and a pattern that you set up for yourself. And it's not just a one-day thing. Oh, I'm going to choose this. It is a conscious everyday shedding of that. I want to call it the mortal coil of the mortal shell of when we live in this mortal shell, we are so much broken down by outside elements and, you know, caffeine or tobacco or whatever. And our bodies can be affected by that. But when we live into the spiritual realm and we look past the physical and we look past what is just right in front of our faces, we can find peace. And we can find peace and clearing and learning our bodies and learning what's within that can come out. But if you don't have goodness within yourself, you know, that's what's going to come out as well.
Exactly. And that's where, when you're clear like that and you're choosing that, that's where the ease comes in. And like a state of joy is kind of a difference between feeling like when you can be even in a joyful space when things are challenging or when we're aware of limitations, because consciousness includes everything, the good, the bad, the ugly. It's more of what we do with it and what we're picking up on that's a difference. So I love that description, that it's not about feeling, it's more of a state, the way you describe it.
And, you know, and this is the thing is like, everybody can have a different belief and stuff, but there is one Bible verse that says, there's this one little thing that says, count it all as joy.
Oh.
And I've always just taken that, and I know it goes on further, but just thinking of those lyrics, those words, count it all as joy. and thinking of, hey, everything I go through, I'm going to count it all as joy, because no matter what it is, it's setting me up for something great. Even though I might be in this place right now where it feels dim, it feels like everything around me is crumbling, it feels like I am so stuck in this place, I'm going to count it all as joy, because I know that I'm going to grow from this. I'm going to learn from this. I'm going to become a better person through this. As long as I recognize that there is some choices that I need to make through that dark time that is going to create this better person on the other side.
100,000%. 1,000%.
We're like, so I feel like we're so on the same wavelengths here. I'm sending you vibes right now. No.
Oh my God. And I'm receiving them. And yes, we're like, we're tapping into the knowing that we know that we know. And it's just like,
yes.
And I
yes, we're like
resonating. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about? The secret, yeah.
Oh my gosh. So awesome. And I'm wondering, so is there anything, this just seems like it's popping in this 10 seconds, because I'm kind of in 10-second increments all the time. Is there anything that you would like your audience to know, the fans to know, or just people watching this, that they don't know about you, or anything related to something that may be relevant to that?
So I think a lot of artists do deal with this. And in fact, most of the ones that I know have dealt with anxiety and depression their entire lives. I think that it comes with the territory of this being a very, I want to say chaotically minded person, because a lot of artists, like, we just have so many thoughts going in our head 24/7 that we can get consumed. And, you know, it is very difficult for people to see me now and be like, well, you look like you're fine. Well, you don't know what's going on in my head. You know, you don't know how much work I have to do to make sure that I don't go on this tangent of ADD and then let those, you know, things scrolling through my mind to affect my day. And, you know, these little things that are difficult for everybody on the daily thing, I struggle with the same thing. And I think when people go online, they see all these people that are musicians or influencers or whatever, and they're like, oh man, if I would only like them, if only I could look like them or be like them. Because I've had so many people tell me, like, oh, if I could only look like you. I'm like, you did not see me at 5 a.m. this morning without my spray tan, without the lashes. My fun bun was over here. And I looked in the mirror, I was like, Gabs, get it together. You know, and people just see the highlight reel. But something that I want to encourage people is everyone in this earth are humans. We're all humans. We all have souls. We all have a heart. And, you know, no matter what, never think that you are less than because you are not on a bigger platform. Because who you are is going to affect the people closest to you, and you're going to affect somebody that I will never reach. And if we're going to cause this light to go around the world and positivity to go around the world, we all have a role in it.
Yes.
And it does not have anything to do with just the people that are trying to do music or influencers or models or whatever, because those people actually have the least effect, which is funny. People think that, oh, they have the most effect. No, they don't. Actually, they have the seed planting abilities, but they don't have the watering capabilities. They don't have the growing. They're not the sun. Those people are going to be people that come into their lives on the daily. And so, you know, you look at the celebrities and everything like that, they are not the light. I am not the light that is going to sustain the world. I'm the light that's going to be the seed, and you're going to be the people that are going to spread that and spread the positivity. I've just gotten the opportunity to have the platform to start it.
That is so well said and amazingly put. I've never heard it that way. And that just makes so much sense. And then there's also then probably you in your personal space being that, but you're being that invitation for people to take what you're being to create it in the world. As you're being it, but it's so nice to speak of it is that we're all on the same plane.
Right.
It's a matter of what are we going to do with it? What are we going to create? And we all do it in our own unique way.
Exactly.
And that's what really you're speaking to. So, and it's so humbling how you say it. So.
Well, I really believe that, celebrities and everybody like that, they've been elevated to a ridiculous level to the point where they're like gods, and nobody should be a god. Everyone are humans. We're human beings that fail, that mess up, that are not always happy and positive all the time, but we can sit here and make the decision to be happy and the decision to work on ourselves, but never look at somebody like they are a god and you want to be them, because that is not the person you were meant to be. You were meant to be you, which is completely unique and amazing and incredible.
And we can be inspirations where it's like, oh, I would like to be more of that because I see that and I like that over there, rather than comparing and contrasting or do it
exactly
like this linear way of doing it, rather than, oh, let's all, I'm going to receive a little bit from you and all these things to then create what we would like.
Yes.
I love that. That's amazing. And that you're willing to put yourself out there too in that way is such a great acknowledgement and creation. So
well, thank you.
Yeah.
I think it's very easy for artists to get into their head on when they get all these different comments or whatever. But I also want to encourage your viewers and everything, be mindful of what you post, even on celebrity stuff. Because, I know several friends that are super famous, a lot more famous than me, and I'll see posts on their, pictures and stuff. And hey, we all read them. Don't think that just because you have a ton of followers, you're not going to read your comments.
Yeah.
Because you totally do. And before you post, think, is this going to breathe life? Or is it going to bring some sort of destruction to the people reading it or the people that it's about? And, I don't care if it is something you are super, super passionate about or whatever it is, at least say it in a good way. Yeah. Bring whatever you're trying to say and pretend you were being told it. Say it to yourself and you say, did I receive that well? And if you didn't, reword it or don't post it at all.
Don't post it at all, because there's
what's the point?
Yeah, it's almost like an intention to get other people to get upset or be upset or to feel what they're feeling. And rather than, and the people that are doing that are likely not, just my awareness on it, they may not be living very consciously, like they make it a you versus the other still, or they're just in that limitation. And it's just, we're just meant to shed light on it by not engaging when those do, like we were talking about earlier.
Oh yeah.
And I know you mentioned, when you were mentioning your brother Shay, what's that been like for you, being in the music business and creating what you're creating and him creating what he's creating? What's that been like? I'm just curious.
So I was very specific when I moved to Nashville because Shay convinced me to move to Nashville. We lived in Pittsburgh for 2 years.
Okay.
And when he moved to Nashville, I was back in Arkansas. Been a songwriter my whole life since I was 12 and an artist. And I was in a rock band before Shay was in, his stuff. And so Shay was like, Gabby, you're a songwriter. You do great in Nashville. And I was like, oh, I don't know if I want to move to Nashville. It just feels like I'm going to be alone. She was like, well, I'm here now. And so when I moved here, the first thing I told Shay, because he had just done the whole Dan Shay thing, is I said, I don't want you to use your platform for me, period. I don't want people to think I'm using you for anything whatsoever. And the reason I did that, people were like, oh, you'd be so much further along now. And I realized that. But the thing about it is that was not my journey.
Yeah.
And it was his journey. And I was very adamant about just being his sister. And until he got to the level that he's at right now we're writing my album together. Oh. Now we're doing a ton of stuff together, but it took a long time for me to be open to honestly, letting Shay help me with stuff, because being his sister was way more important. And I never, ever wanted anyone to feel like I was using them for anything, especially my brother.
Yeah.
And so I was very passionate about that and making sure he knew when we hung out, it was just sib time.
Yeah.
You know, it was just Bubba sister time, and that was it.
Well, and sometimes there is a timing to things where you
Yes.
just know it's right, it's light, it reads like correct, and there's probably a space where now that's coming through and available to you and to him in a way there's just ease and
yes.
And sometimes these other things, it's like, no, it's a time, no.
Yeah.
And that's now, wow, like now's the time. Now's the time.
Yeah. And not forcing things is a big deal. I think a lot of people try to force things in the music industry and force things on people. But until you are truly happy with who you are as an artist and as a person, you're not gonna be able to make anybody else happy with it either. So you can go and a label tell you, oh, I'm gonna need you to get in a white dress and go into a field and do this kind of music. But if you hear that and you're complete with yourself and you know who you are, like I was when I went into labels, I'm like, well, you know what? If that's what you're looking for, that's amazing. And you go look for that. But it's not me. It won't be me, because you'll be content in who you are. And so to all those country girls and guys that are moving to Nashville and want to do music, I just want to encourage you to know who you are. And if you aren't sure with who you are right now, it's more important to figure that out first than it is to actually form yourself into what you think people want you to be.
Profound. Yes. Where you have to then live up or live down to an expectation outside of you, rather than just showing up and being you the way that you are. And you've been true to that all along here. I can hear that. Like you've been in the presence of it, the consciousness of it. And it would be, if you were to continue not going in the direction that was light for you, you would know it. And now I sense like with Shay, it reads light, and to not go there would be heavy. And now to go into that and into the light. And I sense we're in the day and age of like, with amazing beings in the world, especially like generation millennials and Zs, and everyone, but where we're the influencing world, where they'll know if you're not being genuinely you, and what they're open to receiving and those kind of things too. We're in such a world where now that's available more than ever before, like in a conscious way.
Right. So, I'm actually loving this TikTok thing and the Reels thing, because there's so many people that are a hoot. They're so funny. I watch them and I'm like, oh, you are hilarious. And that's just them. And we still have it with the artist things. It's like super mysterious and nobody knows who I am and just guess,
So Gabby, I was wondering, would you be open to sharing with us a little bit about what you do for, let's say, self-care or your daily space of creation for ease and calm, or anything that you would like to talk about regarding that?
Well, what I love so much about this is you have already given me some great tips of like, I don't know if a lot of people know this about you, but I interviewed you for my company, Third Eye High, that I have with some amazing girls. I think it's so important to surround yourself with people that are like-minded. It's very hard when you can't. And that's basically the entire world. You're going out into energies you don't know what are going to be, know?
Exactly. So, and you know what, before we jump into your self-care regime, why don't you talk a little bit about your company? I would love for you to share more with the audience. Yeah.
I would love to talk about it. So I actually own two companies, one with my girls, Tara, Sydney, Maja. We have a great team over at Decibel Media, Janet's team. But I own another company called Posse Lashes, which is the ones I have on right now with my sister. So me and my sissy, we have lashes that we named after our family members. And then Shay got offended. We had to end up naming him a lash. So we have the shays, but back to Third Eye High though, one of the things that I love so much about Third Eye High is it is all about empowering women. It's all women business owners. It is all about the women's body and mental health and physical health, because all of us come from different walks of life. And I believe that having something that is encouraging and brings positivity to the world and business coming together, it's kind of the most perfect collab that you could think of. So, you know, getting to do something that we're so passionate about, but also bringing positivity and women empowering women to the light, to the world is interesting and fun.
It taps into a whole nother niche. I sense that kind of that you enjoy. Yeah. Wow.
I love it. I love it. I'm a huge fitness and health and wellness girl. Like I love that. And I think that that is a big part, like you were talking about self-care. And you know how you self-care, and one of the things that I definitely have to do is either stretch, yoga, workout, and even if it's for 5 minutes, just getting my mind right. And so that being incorporated in with a women's wellness company really fit into my life.
It's like that perfect addition to bring in. You're like, oh yeah, I would like some of that. So I'm going to create a company and be with amazing beings that are desiring to do the same thing. How's it getting better?
Yeah. Well, that brings me to, I did own another company. It was called G-Fit.
Oh.
And I owned it back in Arkansas. And you were asking me what is something not a whole lot of people know about me. I actually owned one of the largest fitness companies in Arkansas, and it was all women. And so what I did is I just said, hey, you know what? I'm going to make meal plans, you know, accountability, workouts every day, 5 days a week, all into one, just so people can afford it. And did it in a group setting and all women. And we ended up having 7 locations and 750 clients. And I did a lot of what we're talking about at the end of every class. And I spoke into their lives, and I wanted them to feel so loved and so beautiful right where they are. Because girls, all of you guys out there, everyone is looking at themselves so harshly. We look at ourselves in a light that other people do not see us.
Yeah.
And we're constantly finding these little things that we hate about it ourselves. And we're thinking, if only I looked like this, or only if I lost 3 more pounds, I would be happy.
Yeah.
And that is the biggest lie that you can tell yourself, is happiness comes from a physical attribute.
Well, it's almost like that negative filter that if we don't get clear on where that's coming from, the way you speak about it, it can be your main framework. And that's where all this comes from, like an image of what we're supposed to be, rather than creating what it is you would desire based on these amazing possibilities that you're offering women and others. So what an amazing contribution that was, and that you're like referring to actually with the...
I really felt like it was such a calling for me, because there were women that came. I mean, we're all a little broken, but I'm talking, there were some people that were so broken and in a position that they felt so hopeless. And it wasn't even like, I was talking about the seed, and it wasn't even necessarily me that brought these women through. It was each other. It was creating this environment for people to be positive. We had this rule of no negative Nancy's. And I said, when you come in here, you are not going to be like, oh, this is so hard. Oh my goodness, I'm hurting, blah, blah. I was like, you are going to encourage the girl next to you, and you're not going to stop encouraging. So I was hard on them. I was like, you are going to be encouragers. You are going to encourage the women next to you, because it will in turn encourage you. And it was so successful. I had one client that ended up losing 100 pounds in a year. And her entire attitude changed before her body changed. And that was the thing that was a wake-up call, is how close is our mental state to our physical? It's close. It's very close. They're so correlated. And I think that the way we view ourselves, when we're kinder to ourselves and we look at ourselves and say, you are beautiful right now. in this place that you are. You don't need to lose a pound to be beautiful, and you don't need to lose a pound to feel whole. You don't need to do that. But what you do need to do is take care of the inside.
Yes.
And be kind to your insides, and then it'll eventually show on the outside, but that's not the important part.
Yeah,
you know,
so many pieces of this relate to each other, and exactly the way you describe it, how our mind, if we do kind of like what we were talking about earlier, the linear thought, feelings, and emotions can be a block from even being present in our body. We're a being and a body, where they can kumbaya, so to speak, and contribute to each other if we're kind to our being and body. And you're
exactly,
it's kind of, I call it being, body, and you could say spirit too.
Oh, definitely. Mind, body, and spirit, it's all one. And when we start trying to separate one from the other, that's when we won't feel whole. Because those three elements are so important.
And they'll fight against each other and then not work together. Whereas you were bringing them all together to work together, and you were being potent. You're like, this is now, like, you really, let's go. Step it up.
No,
it's
this
a choice.
is not the time. This is not the time to be, lackadaisical with your life, because we have one life and we have one body, and we want to be kind to that body, including with our words. And I think that's so easy for us girls to be like, oh, she's not that hot, or oh, look at her hair, look at this. And when we're really just happy with something about ourselves. And it's never exterior. It's definitely interior, because you're going to feel better about yourself when you work on your insides.
Yeah.
And you'll be kinder to other people.
Yes. And I was just going to say that you must have been in my head.
Oh, I'm in your head, girl.
Oh, you are. Oh my gosh. Yes. Well, where like a lot of times when we're doing judgment on ourselves, that can be like just as evil as taking it into the world, because our own thoughts and feelings and emotions about ourselves really dictate how we do show up. So it is so important to be aware of what you're telling yourself and what you're present with. Otherwise, that could be the one thing that's obviously limiting you from creating what you would desire.
Absolutely. I think it's very easy for us girls to pick each other apart. But if we would start encouraging each other and loving on each other and telling each other, you are beautiful, you're strong. That was our motto in GFIT, is you are strong, you are beautiful, you are more than what you think you are and what other people say you are. And I would make them quote it every day. I know they got annoyed, but it's just those mantras that, when you reaffirm something, even when you don't believe it, when you're saying it over and over and over again, eventually it seeps in. Eventually it starts making some sort of resonance with that within your soul.
Well, and what I love about all this is you're the walking, talking being of what you're creating. Like everything that you touch is part of what you are and what you desire too. So it's such a beautiful thing to witness. And it's not about making it significant, but it's an acknowledgement of you and what a gift you are to the world. And I just want to say that.
You're making me blush. You're so sweet. I was talking about you the other day saying the same thing. I was just like, it's very rare for people to open up their hearts and their minds to other people's experiences. And the fact that you do that on the daily is a testament to how strong you are from within. And it's amazing that you can give this incredible gift to other people because you have done the work yourself. And it's so refreshing to see someone that's encouraging other people like you are.
Oh, thank you. Well, this is exactly what we're talking about. This is how we're meant to be.
Yes.
We're being an example of being that for each other and acknowledging each other. I love, oh my gosh, I'm getting cheek chills.
I know, me too. I'm like, ew. I think that as soon as people start coming around to this self-work, and it does start with you, like when we start telling, oh, this world's so crazy, this is so depressing, there's so much anxiety, all this stuff, we can't control a lot of things, but we can control our response to it. We can control ourselves and how we react to situations or other people. And it's very important for us to encourage each other to live in a light and in love and not in this darkness that we were never supposed to live in the beginning.
Exactly. 100%. And that's what people have deemed to be the truth in this reality. And it's actually the lie.
Yes.
So we've been taught and trained in a way that is confused the two. It's actually the opposite usually of what it is. So we're really meant to be in a space of possibilities and choice, not from the problem, where a lot of people like to go into the problem for the solution to the problem that is the problem, which is kind of it's kind of like the definition in a way of insanity.
Yes.
But rather than, okay, now what else is possible? What can we create from this, even this heavy thing, and into something greater? And I sense this is how you've lived your life, and this idea of never give in, never give up, never quit. You never stop. You just keep going no matter what, even though it's overwhelming or intense at times.
Yep. And I think other people can do the same thing.
Yes.
I think you have to set your mind, set your intentions, and realize the things that are important. And number one, that's most important, is inside and what's within. I mean, we can work on our outside all that we want, but if you'll notice, the most beautiful people have the most beautiful hearts.
It's so true. So true. Well, I am so grateful that you came on the show. And before we finish up, I would love for you to share any last following, let's say, closure with words, I suppose, to the show that you would like maybe people to go with, or a thing to go on that it's a little Gabby touch. I would love for you to share something.
Oh, perfect. Well, I want to encourage all of you guys that are watching that no matter where you are in this point of life, no matter what you're doing, what your career is, what your goals are, remember to be kind to yourself and be kind to others. Whatever you're doing, remember to take those times and steps during the day, like Dr. Sarah gives everyone, releasing it with intention. I think if we could all just say one thing kind about ourselves a day, just one thing, and say, like, for instance, today, Gabby, you really were motivated, or you know what, Gabs, you have a cool outfit on today. Or it was cool that you said hi to that person when you didn't have to. Just little things of being like appreciating yourself, because sometimes other people will not do it for you.
Yeah.
And if you look in the mirror and say these three things, you are strong, you are beautiful, you are more. And if you say those things to yourself, then you're always going to have a positive affirmation in your life. So you're manifesting that into your own life. Do not depend on others to bring that into your life. Remember, it's inside of you. All the power you need is within you. And if you don't access that, you're missing out on a huge blessing in your life.
It's all inside you. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
No, thank you so much for having me. And also, guys, seriously, Dr. Sarah knows what she's talking about. I encourage you guys to go and watch her podcast. The thing that you need to do to start this journey is learn about how to. And Sarah's going to tell you how. And if you continue following her and listening to what she has to say, I can promise you will be blessed.
Oh, thank you, Gabby.
Beautiful.
I'm so.
You deserve it.
Thank you. And I'm so grateful for you. So, so grateful. And I would love to have you back on the show.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Okay.
Absolutely anytime. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you too. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for being with us today. And be sure to join us next time for more conversations and insights into some of your favorite influencers. Now, don't forget to join me, Dr. Sarah, anywhere I'm on social media. And always, always, always remember that I have your back.